1972. In 1972, Adolph Rupp retired from coaching. After 42 seasons, the incomparable Barron's influence extended far beyond the Kentucky Bluegrass.
He was known throughout the world as the greatest coach, the winningest coach in collegiate basketball. He was the king, and he was the chief, and he was the potentate, and because it wasn't the Bluegrass, well, he became the Baron of the Bluegrass.
'57 saw the emergence of Wilt Norman Chamberlain, the 7'2" sophomore center from Kansas. Nicknamed the Big Dipper, Chamberlain averaged just under 30 points per game as he led the once-beaten Jayhawks into the NCAA Finals against top-ranked North Carolina. Tar Heel coach Frank McGuire had a multi-talented team with 6'5" hotshot Lenny Rosenbluth, Joe Quigg, Bob Cunningham, Pete Brennan, and Tommy Kernan. The Tar Heels entered the NCAA title game with a 31-0 record. Their dream season almost came to an end in the semifinals as they survived a triple overtime marathon against Michigan State. Just about everybody felt North Carolina was too tired to bounce back, especially since they now had to face the agile young giant from Kansas in the finals. However, Carolina triple-teamed Chamberlain, and paced by the streak shooting of Rosenbluth, they led 29-22 at intermission. In the second half, Wilt finally broke free from the zone as Kansas looked to make a move for the title. To make matters worse for North Carolina, Rosenbluth fouled out with 1:45 to play and Kansas leading by 2. Only a late basket by Tar Heel senior Bob Young, his only points in the game, by the way, sent the contest into overtime at 46 apiece. The first overtime ended at 48 all. The second overtime went scoreless. Finally, in the third overtime, Carolina's Joe Quigg calmly made 2 free throws to put the Tar Heels up 54-53.
All right, it's taken out by Parker. Parker throws a long one into the left side. They feed it into Stilt, and it's tapped away from Stilt, and we win! 54-53, North Carolina did it!
Incredibly, North Carolina had won its second straight triple overtime game. The Tar Heels finished their perfect season as one of the greatest teams in the history of college basketball. They call him the Big O, and no one had ever seen a player quite like Oscar Robertson. In the late 1950s, the 6'5" Cincinnati sensation ruled the game of college basketball.
Inch for inch, pound for pound, could be the best player. Every time he stepped on the court, he gave a clinic. That meant if you watched him out there, it would be like going to a basketball clinic and spending 8 hours learning how to coach and learning how to play. What looked like an accident was not an accident. Everything that Oscar Robertson did was on purpose.
He's the one high school player that I thought could have immediately stepped right into the pros, skipped college, and been a star. Not just gone into the pros and been an ordinary player. He could have been, in my opinion, a star immediately.
Indeed, Oscar Robertson was no ordinary player. At Cincinnati, Oscar became the first person ever to collect 3 consecutive Player of the Year awards. He concluded his brilliant career averaging more than 33 points and 15 rebounds per game. Amazingly, though, he was a better passer than scorer and rebounder.
If they counted the assists as they do now, if they counted them that way in his time, they'd never break his records.
The Big O led the Bearcats to consecutive Final Four appearances in 1959 and 60. Unfortunately for Oscar, he never had a chance to play for a national championship. Both years, the Bearcats were eliminated by California in the semifinals. Nonetheless, Oscar Robertson provided college basketball with a new standard of individual excellence and forever secured his place in the history of the game. Ohio State basketball coach Fred Taylor was a happy man in 1960. The reason? His sophomore class featured the talent of 6'8" center Jerry Lucas, defensive ace John Havlicek, and highly touted Mel Knoll. Along with shooting star Larry Siegfried and veteran Joe Roberts, the Buckeyes became one of the greatest shooting teams in college basketball history. Among the substitutes on this team was another flash of brilliance, a fiery line drive shooting player named Bobby Knight.
Bobby Knight was a very tenacious player. He's known for defense. Bobby Knight tried to play defense as hard as anyone else. He didn't have the quickness of other people, and when you played against Bobby Knight, you knew you were going to be in a physical battle because he didn't have the quickness. Therefore, he would grab you, he would hold you, he would bump you, he'd move you around, and you knew when you were fouled.
All-American center Jerry Lucas led the country in field goal percentage for 3 straight years as he made over 62% of his shots. The Buckeyes cruised to a 25-3 record in 1960, easily defeating California in the finals 75-55. They would, however, suffer 2 straight championship losses to Cincinnati in 1961 and 62. The bragging rights issue in Ohio was settled by Cincinnati's powerful 6'9" center, Paul Hogue, as the Bearcats won back-to-back national titles. Ohio State fans, however, will long remember their battling Buckeyes, a squad that made it to the NCAA championship game 3 straight years and sent 4 of its players on to the NBA. They called him Pistol Pete. College basketball had never seen a scoring machine like Pete Maravich. Playing for his father, Press, at Louisiana State University from 1968 through 70, the Pistol completed his amazing career as college basketball's most prolific scorer. With his floppy socks and dazzling ball handling, Pete Maravich put pizzazz into the game of basketball.
Blessed with a great amount of ability, natural athletic ability. Pete could do a lot of amazing things with the basketball. He was really a showman. I mean, Pete would go out there to, put on a show. I mean, that's what he wanted to do. That's how he looked at himself, as a showman. Pete loved the game. He loved the game, and he was a lovely person. I mean, a lot of people didn't know Pete, but there's nothing Pete wouldn't do for you individually. They asked him in terms of helping you any way you can, financially, in terms of basketball, clinics, or whatever necessary, he would do this. And I just thought he was a great talent.
In only 3 years at LSU, he rewrote all the record books. Most points in a season, most points in a career, highest career scoring average at 44.2 points per game, and most points in a single game, 69. Whether it was from behind the back or through the legs, double pump or one-handed, the result was the same. Pistol Pete Maravich, college basketball's greatest showman. On January 20th, 1968, over 52,000 people filled the Astrodome in Houston, Texas, to watch what was billed as the game of the century. Number 1 UCLA and center Lou Alcindor faced number 2 Houston and All-American Elvin Hayes. This dramatic setting was enhanced even more by the fact that the court was so far removed from the fans. It was a great spectacle. UCLA's 47-game winning streak pitted against Houston's 48 straight wins at home. A serious concern for Bruin fans